In his first day, President Biden already issued a number of executive orders on areas that we as a company really care quite deeply about.
A brave whistleblower from within Facebook, who continues to work in the organization as of this moment, released incriminating video footages of top Facebook executives, including CEO Mark Zuckerberg. And the repercussions of this could be grave for Facebook. Facebook for long has been accused by scores of people across the world of being a partisan social media platform and also stifling the views of people who appear to have opinions in contestation to some random and haphazard company policies, which the Mark Zuckerberg-owned behemoth operates by. With President Joe Biden now in the Oval Office, it is spring all over again for the American big tech, and Mark Zuckerberg has been caught red-handed exposing his company's intimate relations with the Democrat regime that has just taken over America. Mark Zuckerberg has not been able to contain his happiness over a Biden administration taking over the United States. In videotapes which have been released by Project Veritas, Zuckerberg and other executives are seen nearly gloating about the immensity of abilities which they have to mold public opinion in a certain direction. The tapes are of a recent January 21st meeting, and more such exposés have been promised by this whistleblower. In the videos, the top executives, particularly Mark Zuckerberg, do not shy away from expressing their utter disgust for former President Donald Trump, who the Facebook CEO claimed had condoned the Capitol Hill violence last month rather than condemning it. In video footage which was meant for highly secretive and private consumption alone, but which has now been made public, Zuckerberg can be heard saying, "It's so important that our political leaders lead by example. Make sure we put the nation first here, and what we've seen is that the president, that is Donald Trump, has been doing the opposite of that. The president intends to use his remaining time in office to undermine the peaceful and lawful transition of power." Zuckerberg also insinuated, without any evidence of course, that the Capitol Hill mob was being dealt with in a lenient manner when compared to the anarchists who ran a riot across America during the Black Lives Matter protests. Further, Mark Zuckerberg couldn't help but sing virtues of Joe Biden and his first few days in office, as he was heard saying, "President Biden already issued a number of executive orders on areas that we as a company care quite deeply about and have for some time. Areas like immigration, preserving DACA, ending restrictions on travel from Muslim-majority countries, as well as other executive orders on climate and advancing racial justice and equity. I think these were all important and positive steps." Ideally, a platform like Facebook should not care for any such political issues, and instead it should provide an environment for safe and free speech. But Zuckerberg has other plans, and those plans have been exposed. Now, even as Facebook is supposed to be neutral as a social media platform, Zuckerberg went on to say in the high-level meeting, "The president, that is President Trump, intends to use his remaining time in office to undermine the peaceful and lawful transition of power." Even while close to half of the voters chose Donald Trump to be their next president, for Mark Zuckerberg to say that the former president was subverting American democracy just because he was calling for an investigation on election fraud is indeed evidence enough to prove that Zuckerberg and his company have a soft corner for Joe Biden and the Democrats. In the same January 21st meeting, footage of what is out now, Facebook's head of global affairs, Nick Clegg, addressed the international backlash that resulted from then-President Trump's suspension from the platform, and with a sense of bravado, said that the allegation of private companies having too much power was indeed true, an indication of the fact that cronies at Facebook were making full use of such power to tilt the scales in Joe Biden's favor prior to the presidential elections. What is now left for us to say, when top Facebook executives and the CEO themselves are so explicit about their bias, which evidently has a trickle-down effect on Facebook and other platforms owned by it? Nick Clegg also sought to defend his company's bias towards conservatives and right-wingers by saying that a deficiency of democratic rules to govern social media companies meant that such decisions needed to be made in real time by the company executives themselves. Nick said, "At the moment, those democratically agreed rules don't exist. We still have to make decisions in real time." This explosive leak comes in the backdrop of big tech companies like Twitter, Instagram, Google, Amazon, among others, mounting a concerted campaign to diminish Trump's re-election bid. However, that isn't where these bloodhounds stopped. In fact, after the victory of Joe Biden in November last year, big tech started concentrating on those competitors like Parler and Gab, which allowed free speech of the right wing and the conservatives. Big tech worked overtime to make sure that their hegemony is not challenged by newcomers who may want to put user freedom and autonomy over all other issues. Collectively, big tech has ensured that Joe Biden becomes the US president, while all blame for everything ever gone wrong in American history is put squarely on the conservatives. While Facebook is just the beginning, a campaign of sorts could soon be mounted to expose all big tech companies by insiders, no less.